Hi, my name is Linsdau. I'm a polar explorer and motivational speaker. Today I am out at the Molten Barn and the Pink House in Grand Teton National Park in Wyoming. Molten Barn is one of the most famously photographed barns in America, and in fact, I was looking on the Wikipedia page, because this barn actually has its own Wikipedia page, and they claim that Flickr says this is the #1 photographed barn in America. No doubt, because as you can see behind me, I'll cut in some video to give you an idea what this sucker looks like. Boy, the Molten Barn is incredible. The view is just spectacular. The Park Service has actually changed not the road, but they've actually blocked off part of the parking and made a little trail for people because it's just so popular that it gets crazy crowded to the point where tour buses have actually started showing up to this thing. So of course it's not really a secret anymore, only if you don't know about it and you don't search around. It's actually featured in the Grand Teton National Park brochures and information, so it's well worth. And if you're on a guided tour, it would be horrible if they actually didn't bring you to this barn. So it's definitely well worth the time. Now you can see people around here, there's, I don't know, they're talking like a coyote or something, who knows. Boy, every so often you'll get things photographed here. One of my, the photographers I know, Grover Ratliff, in his book, Roaming the Wild, he actually has a photograph of a couple cowboys on horses next to the barn. It's like that Marlboro sort of man. Of course, smoking's bad and all that, but boy, it is a sexy, manly photograph of those couple cowboys and a brown horse sitting there just hanging out. I mean, I'll put a link in below to the book. It's well worth checking out. This barn, the best time to photograph the barn is in the morning. By the time the folks have shown up here and they're all poking around, as you can see behind me, let's see, left hand, right hand, yeah, this is hard to do, I'm not a weather person, is you see the front of the barn is totally black because the contrast is so high, even though the sun isn't steeply overhead like it is in June, that if you really want a good photograph of the barn, the TA Molten Barn, you have to come here early in the morning. And a lot of times, there'll just be a crush of photographers here. And they're all hanging out, trying to get their shot. I have a couple good stories for you. So the first is I was out here one time, this lady she had her camera set, and I don't know if she was doing what's called HDR, or high dynamic range shooting, or whatever it is, but she had a remote release and she was photographing the barn, and she had this high-speed camera. I mean, she was shooting like dozens of shots. So I should have been smart and just asked her, like, oh, I'm just kind of curious, are you doing multiple exposures or different focus points? You know, who knows? Who knows? So always kind of wild because really the barn isn't moving. The National Park Service, it was just funny, and just trust me, if you're a photographer, that was funny, because why the heck would you take 15 shots like you're photographing somebody diving? You'd shoot really fast, but the barn not moving. But hey, whatever. Also, do note that the pink, when it does happen on the mountains here, it goes pink, 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 and it's only pink for 1 to 3 minutes. So if you're late and you already see pink in the sky in the mountains, by the time you get set up, over, you've missed it. So you need to be here well before sunrise. Ooh, there's a bug on me. And it's like in being this outdoor sort of stuff. And you can hear cars driving by and whatnot, and hopefully you can still hear me okay. Can you hear me okay? Hello? Okay. Because it's just that popular. And we're in a thing called Mormon Row. Yeah, so originally, way back in late 1800s through the early 1900s, Mormons actually came and settled this area. I don't know if they built the road, but there are multiple ranches all along here, and the Molten Barn behind me is one of them. I'm going to take you over to the Pink House as well. That's a real famous, and so that's a real famous site. One thing that's always funny when people tell you directions in a small town, because there's a sign that says Mormon Row, but you take Antelope Flats Road and you turn right at the Pink House. You're like, all right, there's got to be 50 pink houses. No, folks. This is actually one of those legit directions that, yes, you need to turn right at the Pink House to go to the Molten Barn. The Molten Barn, at least according to the park information, it started in the early 19th century, like 1912-ish, and the ranch and construction went on to about 1945. And apparently it was one of the last properties in the Molten Barn, Mormon Row sort of area that was transferred and sold to the national park. And now the national park is responsible for the upkeep on this thing. And you think, oh, what's a big deal? Well, just remember that this area of Wyoming can get some very serious snowfalls. I mean, I've been here where it's 4, 5, 6 feet deep, and so you basically have to ski out here. During the winter, you actually used to be able to drive out here, but I don't know what the deal is with budget or government or who knows what, but now you get a park, it's like 1.5 miles or further away, and you either have to walk, which you don't want to walk in 3 to 6 feet of snow, march on snowshoes, or ski out to the Molten Barn to photograph. But one of the great advantages is that there's virtually nobody here. Unless you're a hardcore photographer, nobody comes out here in the winter, so that's great. But when people used to drive out here, here's my second Molten Barn story. Oh, poof, poof, poof. Why do people do this? So when you used to be able to drive here during the winter, maybe the park will change it again, people would line up, and after you get a fresh snowfall, it's just this beautiful blanket of perfect snow just undulating on the ground next to the barn. And a bunch of photographers are out here, and I'm out here, and yeah, it's like, oh yeah, it's gonna be beautiful as soon as the sun peaks up, light, I mean, just golden light. Perfect photograph, because we're all gonna sell this and make $1 million. Yeah, no, not gonna happen. So as everybody was setting up, there's somebody in the group of photographers who said, oh, hey, wait, everybody. And they literally, I'm using they, hopped over the fence, ran through the snow, did whatever they were going to do, and ran back through the snow, obliterating this perfectly new fallen, beautiful blanket of snow. And all the photographers are out there like, what are you bleeping doing? Oh my gosh. This now beautiful blanket snow had some very footprints in it, and I don't even know what this person was doing. They were adjusting a rock. Who cares? Oh my gosh. So when you're out here, yeah, people do some silly things. That's humans for you. So when you're out here photographing, just remember that this is a national treasure, and if you're setting up and the crowd is in front of you or kids are running behind, chill out. Where do you have to go? You're in one of the most beautiful places in Wyoming. Now, if you're here in the winter and it's -35 and you've skied out here, all right, okay, it can be kind of annoying, but when it's -35 out here, no one is going to be out here. In fact, I know a photographer, Mike Jackson, if I remember, I'll put a link to his blog below. He's probably the best blogger in the entire Jackson Hole Valley and in surrounding regions. And he said, yeah, I got frostbite when it was -30, -35 out here because I was standing around photographing away, and oof, yeah, not so pretty on the toes. So if you decide to come out here in winter, know that it is a long way out here. I've skied out here, I've snowshoed out here. You want to ski if you can. And that wind across this whole area, it gets harsh. I mean, it is like bleeping cold, so it's definitely unpleasant. So do be careful about that. If you come here in the winter, you can freeze these things off pretty darn easy. So it's well worth it. The sunset from here, I mean, right now it's spectacularly clear. So there's actually not going to be a very exciting sunset unless some high clouds come in. That's one thing also about the entire regions. Once the smoke and haze clears out, it's actually kind of a boring sunset because we don't have smog. During fire season, where you get these shafts of light, it's actually quite spectacularly beautiful. I mean, you think, oh, smoke is horrible, but actually it adds a lot of drama to the scene. Now, usually during fire season, where the sun is in relation to the mountains, it's actually better to head north to Jackson Lake Lodge or anywhere farther north, because you'll see the mountains and then the beams of light coming through, and it's really dramatic. But during the summer and even fire season right now in late September, that sun's going to cross over there and the beams are headed north. So I don't really know if you're going to get a very good photograph of that. So it's definitely something to be mindful of. But just when you're out here, be patient with folks. I mean, sometimes they're trying to get their own picture. Maybe this is their once-in-a-lifetime trip. And I've seen people, they don't get really upset, but they do the thing at people like, dude, chill out. Where do you have to go? The office so you can type away? I mean, it's a super beautiful place. Enjoy the serenity, and enjoy the calm environment, because this really is a national treasure to behold. It is well worth coming out here. One of the nice parts about coming to this part of Grand Teton National Park is you don't have to have the entrance fee. Let's see if we can get my parks pass out here. But this part of the park, because the highway runs through here, I can't get my old park pass out. I guess I should have prepared this, sorry. Yeah, your annual park pass there. They're not cheap, at least as the shooting of this video, they're 80 bucks a crank. Ouch, but they get a carload of people in here. But you only need them if you're going into the inner part or the inter-park road of Grand Teton National Park. A lot of the major sites along the highway, the 189, 191, whatever it is here, are totally free. So you can, if you're a little bit strained on budget, you can't afford to get that park pass, like, oh, we want to still see beautiful stuff. Molten Barn, the Molten Barn is it. You cannot go wrong. I'll go get some film of the pink house here. I've actually been to weddings here, but they have all sorts of things going on. Usually, I don't know if people do any weddings here, but they do them over at the pink house because this is so much more popular. But see, what did I tell you? Pink house. Sadly, the foundations has a pretty severe crack, so I don't think the Park Service, let me tilt this a bit. I don't think the Park Service lets anybody in that thing anymore because it's really cracked. I'll zoom in here, but I mean, you could just see that huge crack, I mean, just emanating. So it's a shame. I've looked through the windows and whatnot and skied out here before, and actually the wind was so bad I actually had to hide out behind this thing for about half an hour because, whoo, wind chill was probably minus 40. It was not enjoyable. Plus, when you're out here, I'll swing around, you can see there's not a lot of protection anywhere. Let me get out of the way of the camera. So definitely not a lot of protection anywhere here. You can see people crawling around. And there's lots of viewing points in the park, but there's just something about this particular angle that is just spectacular. And it's actually, you see that lady walking through there, you get a good idea of the sense of scale of just the size of this house. Let me tilt it down so you can see her just a bit better. I mean, it's definitely a full-size house. It's not some doll deal. This is legit and it's a real thing. The Molten Barn, if you're in the area, is totally worth the drive. I mean, it's nothing, like 3 or 4 minutes off the highway, you turn right down a dirt road. The dirt road, you can drive your low-slung Honda Civic, Audi, whatever. I've seen everything out here, so you don't have to have a 4x4 at all. Easy to get to, beautiful to enjoy. And just like I see this family here, let's see if we can turn the camera. They're just literally sitting there enjoying the experience of the barn. What more could you ask for? My name is Aaron Linsdau. I'm a polar explorer and motivational speaker. Please like and comment on my video and subscribe to my channel to help me out. Thank you very much.